If I'm talking weird and quiet, it's because my roommate's home and I don't want to be so annoying and loud, so just bear with me. Also, do you guys like my new hanging shelves I installed? It's very nice. I rearranged my room. Anyway. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Steph, and today we are doing a very exciting video. I'm doing a monthly reading wrap-up for everything I read in April. I posted on my Instagram story, like, should I start doing like wrap-up videos so you guys know every single book I read? And everyone said yes. And today's the last day of April, so I thought it's the perfect timing to film this video. So if you're interested in seeing every single book I read this month and hearing a little bit about them and my thoughts and opinions on them, then keep on watching. Okay, so the first book I read this month, I think I started it at the end of March but finished it at the beginning of April, was Bright Side by Kim Holden. I absolutely love this book. I talked about this one in my Books That Will Make You Cry video, and it really did make me cry. But it's about this girl named Kate who has a long-term best friend named Gus. They've been friends their whole lives, family friends, like so close. And she got accepted to a college out of state, and on her last night in her hometown, she ends up sleeping with her best friend, then goes back to college, and they agree to keep things platonic. They still like FaceTime every night. In my opinion, I felt like he was so in love with her the whole time I was reading it, but anyway. And then she meets this new guy named Keller, and you get his point of view in this book. It's their relationship and the reasons why they won't open up to each other. They're both keeping a lot of secrets from each other. And then Gus has his own book, which I'm so excited to read. It's been on my TBR since I've read this one, and I can't wait to read that. But yeah, this was the first book I read this month, and I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only reason it did get a 5 is because I'm super picky with my 5-star reads, and it was definitely not one of my all-time favorites. I really enjoyed this, Bright Side by Kim Holden. And then the next book I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and I did give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. The buildup of this relationship, in my opinion, was literally perfectly done. Oh my god, read this book. It was so good. This book is about a girl named Bree, and something super tragic happens to her family, so she moves away to Maine, a random small town, and on her first day there, she bumps into this guy, drops all her stuff, and like she tries to strike up a conversation with him, and he completely ignores her and just walks away. And that obviously intrigues her. First she's like, that was kind of weird, but also rude, but also confusing. And so she starts asking around this small town. She meets this guy's cousin, and he's like, oh, don't talk to Archer, he's such a weirdo. Everyone in the town just thinks he's like this weird freak that never leaves his house, doesn't talk to anyone. And then one day Bree's dog runs onto Archer's property and she has to go chase after it. And then he's just like this super quiet, reserved guy, so innocent and wholesome. And then she's like this bubbly, cute girl who's like been through so much, and they both have so much trauma, and that's what made me cry reading about their trauma. Oh my god. And they slowly strike up this relationship, the build-up, the angst, the chemistry, so good, but it's also so emotional. So if you want like both sides of the spectrum, there's like angst in it, there's longing, there's tension. It's like strangers to friends to slowly lovers, and it is so good. If you like the kind of like quiet boy, outspoken girl trope, you would love this book, and I loved it so much. The next book I read was Him by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. If you like fun, easy, quick romance reads, this book is similar to Off Campus in that way. Hockey romance, but between two guys. They're childhood best friends. They've gone to camp together every summer. Then one of them starts feeling some type of way about the other one and breaks off their friendship, cuts them off completely. They don't talk for 4 years, and then they're playing against each other in the playoffs. They're two teams, and they reunite for the first time in 4 years, and the other one's like, why did you cut me off? And he doesn't want to explain himself, and it's this whole like back and forth, a lot of sexuality questioning, coming to terms with sexuality, all of that between two childhood best friends. And it was really good and steamy, and I really enjoyed it, and there was so much chemistry between these characters. And then I read the second book, which was Us. This is basically just a continuation of their relationship, their ups and downs. They go through a lot, and they kind of have to keep their relationship a secret because of one of them is kind of getting famous. And yeah, so it's just a continuation of this book. I know there's a third one called Epic, which I have not read, but those are the next two books I read, which I loved. Okay, then I read another duology, which I also talked about in my Books That Made Me Cry video. I read so many sad books this month. I first read Full Tilt by Emma Scott. Loved this book. 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it so much. It is also the trope of good boy, bad girl, which I never really thought I was into, but I've absolutely become obsessed with it now. Something about a wholesome boy character is just so cute. But basically, right off the bat, you learn that Jonah, the boy character, has a chronic illness and he's running out of time. He meets this girl named Casey. She's a badass. She's in a rock band, but she's going down a really downward spiral into alcoholism, and he ends up helping her, and she is falling for him. he is trying to push her away because he knows he doesn't have time left, and it is this whole story, so heartbreaking. I loved it so much. And then there is a second book called All In by Emma Scott, and I love this one too. I thought I was gonna hate this one because, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I thought I wasn't gonna like this one, but I loved it just as much. This one is a slow burn, very slow burn, angsty, forbidden romance, so if you like that too, you'll like the duet, but you have to read this one first. I just really recommend this duet so much. I don't even have words, it's incredible. Definitely one of my new favorite book of all time. They're both really short, like together they're probably the length of one book. I'm absolutely obsessed. I know that I'm gonna reread these because I just love them so much. And then after reading that duet, I was so emotionally drained. I needed a not sad, angsty romance, and I read the back of this book I had on my shelf, Bad Habit by Charleigh Rose, and I was like, I immediately need to pick that up. It has both of their point of views on the back, and I'm just gonna read some of it because it caught my attention. So in the girl's point of view, it says, as I got older, harmless flirting turned to stolen moments in dark corners, until one day he was gone without a trace. Now 3 years later, he's back, callous and cruel. He's my brother's best friend, my parents' worst nightmare. I should hate him, but like a bad habit, I can't quit him. And then his point of view, we can never be together. I was too old and she was too off limits. She was too good and I was too fucked up. Eventually the temptation became too much to resist. I risked everything for a kiss and she betrayed me. 3 years have passed and I'm forced to see her again, but now she's all grown up. She's my best friend's baby sister, my downfall. I hate her for what she did, but she's always been my drug of choice. They've been friends their whole lives. She's always had a crush on him, but when she's 14 and he's 17, which made me a little uncomfortable because that is a pretty different ages. They like had their first kiss and then he moves for college. But then when he comes back, he hates her. I think she's 17 when he comes back, 17 or 18, and he hates her now. And she's like, what happened? Like, you kissed me and then you left, and she doesn't understand, and he never explains himself, but the reader knows why he hates her, and it's a miscommunication, but they start this physical relationship. Oh, it's so toxic. This is definitely just a toxic, entertaining, steamy read. It wasn't anything like impactful to me, but it takes place in Arizona, and I've been to a lot of the places that they talked about in this book, because if you didn't know, I live in Arizona, so that's kind of something I enjoyed. It was a crazy read. I read it in one sitting. But yeah, the next book I read was The Problem with Forever by Jennifer Elle Armatrow. I loved this book. This is the first book I've read by this author, and I know she's like a very famous author, and I'm definitely gonna pick up a lot more of her books now. I have one in paperback that I'm gonna read soon. It is childhood friends separated, reunite to lovers. Basically, the main character Mallory grew up in foster care, and in one of her foster care houses when she was like a little girl growing up, she had another boy in the foster home as well. His name was Ryder, and he always looked out for her. He protected her in this house when they were as young as like 6 years old. I think he's a year older than her, and he always protected her from everything. He was pretty much like her hero growing up. He saved her life when they were kids in this terrible, abusive foster home. They were separated when something really tragic happened at that home, never saw each other again, and then she's been homeschooled her whole life because she deals with intense trauma, and she finally decides it's time for her to go to public school. She walks into her last class of the day, and Ryder is in her class, and at first she doesn't recognize him, but then it clicks and they make eye contact and they recognize each other. He has a girlfriend. He still has that protective instinct over Mallory, but everything is different now. They're both so different after living together their whole lives, and now they've been apart for so long. They've missed out on each other's lives, and they're so different now, but they still have that love for each other and that need to protect each other. I loved this book and the message of this book. Both of the characters were so well developed, and I really liked both of them. If you want like a book about something meaningful and deep, I would definitely read The Problem with Forever, and I can't wait to read more from this author. So the next book I read was Alphas Like Us from the Like Us series. This is my favorite book in that series, and it's the third one. I missed it so much, so I reread it. I reread it in 2 days, even though it's pretty long, and I just love this book so much. I obviously can't go into too much depth about it, but I recommend the Like Us series so much by Krista and Becca Ritchie. It's so good. This boy named Maximoff, he's the child of the people from the Addicted series. He has grown up super famous. They're probably like the most famous family in all of America. They're kind of remind me of the Kardashians. They have a reality show. Their parents are like super important CEOs, which is how they got famous. They got famous through scandals. Anyway, this is the son of like the most famous Americans, and his struggles with fame, and he has a bodyguard, and it's his relationship with his bodyguard. They have 4 books in the series so far. There's 8 books out, and you get all the different characters have their own books, which I love series like that. Yeah, Maximoff and Farah's relationship, so steamy, epic romance. This book makes me bawl my eyes out. They go through so much. I love long long series and getting to see like detailed accounts of all the characters' lives and really getting to know characters, and I just love the Like Us series, so I had to reread. I've reread random books from the Addicted series, Callaway Sister series, Like Us series. Like, I always randomly pick up a book from that series and reread it because I miss them so much and they're my all-time favorites. So I reread Alpha's Like Us. Okay, the next book I read this month, I was so excited to read. I've been wanting to read this one for months, but me and my friends were reading it together. We read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata, which is my first book from this author, and this is a big book. This is a big book. It is over 600 pages, but I loved every second. This was the most slow burn book I've ever read. I know that this book is really popular as well, and I'm so disappointed in myself that I haven't read it sooner because I literally loved it. Basically, Vanessa is the assistant to Aiden Graves, who's in the NFL. He's a professional football player and she's his assistant, but he treats her like shit. He acts like she doesn't exist. He doesn't thank her for anything she does. She goes above and beyond for him and he just doesn't care. And so she quits and she leaves, and a month later he shows up on her doorstep and he's like, I need you. I'm sorry I treated you like shit. I need you. This actually has a trope in it that I don't want to explain because it's kind of a spoiler, but if you like forced proximity, you'll love this. She ends up moving in with him, and so much jealousy, but you don't really get to see it until the end when all of it gets revealed. The true feelings of both of them, because they keep it in because it's supposed to be like a professional relationship. So slow burn, but the longing is there, and I loved this book. So much so that I had to immediately read another Mariana Zapata book. So as soon as I finished that one, I picked up From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata, which was so good as well. This one was enemies to lovers, slow burn, and if you watch the show Spinning Out on Netflix, this is exactly like that. Literally so similar. So basically, Jasmine is a figure skater and all she's ever wanted to do in her life is win, but she competes against this guy named Ivan Lukov and he wins every competition. She always comes in second to him or a place behind him, and she's just getting so frustrated. Him and her just never get along. They just basically talk shit to each other all the time at their ice skating rink. And then her partner left her, so she had no one to skate with, so she had to take a season off. And then his partner left him, and then Ivan comes and proposes that they be partners. Even though they hate each other, they are both good skaters, and he proposes that they should pair up for the next season. And she's hesitant at first, but she realizes that she wants to win so bad that she'll do it. And then it's basically them being forced to be teammates, being forced to work together while simultaneously hating each other. And then their coach decides that the public needs to assume that they're dating, so they have to kind of give off this persona in interviews that they like each other. That's kind of like a fake dating trope, but not really. You see Ivan get super protective of her. They're enemies to friends to lovers. Development was really good. I love Mariana Zapata's writing. I can't wait to read more of her books. The slow burn in all of them. I just loved this book, and I'm so glad I discovered her this month, and I'm going to pick up literally all of her books now. And the last book I read this month is what I'm currently reading. I'm halfway through, so I can't give a full synopsis, but it's Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne, which is her new book, and I love it so far. I'm halfway through. I'll probably finish tonight, so it still counts as an April book. This girl named Ruthie, she works at a nursing home. She is basically an old soul. She stays working at her nursing home. She literally lives there. She dresses like a little old lady. One day she meets this guy, fully tattooed, long hair, drives a motorcycle. He's super rude to her the first time they meet by accident, and like hurts her feelings. Then he ends up being the owner of the nursing home's son. His dad is forcing him to work at the nursing home now, so now they're working together. They live right in the same vicinity as each other, and they're like kind of polar opposites, but they realize they actually have a lot more in common than they once thought. They just look really different from the outside. Ruthie is like a hopeless romantic, wants to find her soulmate, and another girl that works there is trying to get Ruthie to date people. I really love this story so far, and I can't wait to see how it ends. But yeah, that's the book I'm currently reading. Okay, so those are all of the books I read this month in April. I don't know if that was a lot or a little compared to what I normally read, because I honestly don't keep track of what I read each month. Some of those books were super long, so it took me a few days to get through them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing everything I read this month, and I hope that you'll be excited that I'm gonna start doing this video for each month. And yeah, that was the end of today's video. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they are all linked down below as always, as well as my Amazon wishlist. And I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Bye!